Hey guys, James here with the 3D maneuver of the day, and this time we're going to go over the hover. The hover is pretty much what you think of when it comes to 3D flying. So we're going to break down this maneuver in a couple different ways. The main thing is learning to hover in all different directions, learning to hover in any orientation you possibly can be in, and also making note of what changes when you are doing this. We're going to go over the torque roll later, but for now we're going to stick with the basic hover. So let's get into it. I'm going to show you some different examples and different clips. Make sure to watch this first clip though, as it has really good examples of the sticks moving in real time. So let's break it down after this first. A couple quick notes about the hover. This maneuver is affected by the wind, so your airplane can drift to and from away from you, down the runway, or back towards you, so be careful when in the wind. Also, when I'm hovering, I tend to look at where the wing meets the fuselage, so I would be looking there. Don't focus on what the tail is doing, focus on that point. A good way to describe a hover is kind of like balancing an object on your hand, like a broom. You have to move your hand, or in this case the tail, give the right inputs to make sure you stay level and don't fall over from left to right. So that's kind of one way to look at it. I'm not sure if people will understand that, but that's kind of what a hover is. So let's break down the maneuver. So in entering a hover, I think the best way to learn is with an upright Harrier. You can see here I'm in a Harrier, and I'm going to slowly add power as well as watch the aileron input. Now you still have to steer a little bit with a rudder, but the main thing is that big elevator input and also the power. And at this point, I also used a little bit of aileron to make sure the canopy was facing to me. And now this is a big step. I think learning with the canopy towards you is the best way to start. So now we're going to break down why the canopy facing towards you or away from you is such a big deal. So once you're in a hover, the hardest thing to really keep track of is your rudder input. So you see right there, the first rudder input I gave to the right and the nose went to the right, and then I gave a left rudder input and the nose went to the left. Now the challenge is when you start hovering with the belly in or the canopy facing away from you, this changes. So you're going to give a right rudder input and the nose goes to the left, and then opposite, you're going to give a left rudder input like there and the nose goes to the right. So this is kind of where you have to retrain your brain for these two different modes of flying. So in this clip we're going to talk about each individual input. So first is the elevator. So you'll see me give a couple elevator inputs and watch what the nose does. So I'm pushing and pulling, which pushes the nose back and forth. So that's how you control that axis. Next up will be the rudder. So the rudder is what we talked about earlier. It's controlling the nose going to the left and to the right. And this is one of the harder inputs, especially once you start torque rolling. And lastly is the aileron input. Usually you'll leave it pinned to one side to stop the torque of the engine from causing you to spin, but you can also let off or add opposite aileron to allow the airplane to spin in a torque roll. So now that we understand all the different components, let's talk about practicing. The best way is practice with the canopy facing you, then practice with one wing facing towards you, then practice the really tricky part, which is having the belly in facing you, and then practice with the other wing facing you. So pretty much you're learning all four positions, which will eventually translate into a torque roll, which is kind of the ultimate goal and the hardest part of what this maneuver can turn into. So I would start there, start with the canopy facing you, and then your wingtips facing towards you, and then lastly focus on the complete opposite with the belly of the airplane facing you. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video over the hover. I'll do one over the torque roll coming soon. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and please watch my streams every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Please support my Facebook page and also the How to 3D Facebook group. We do a lot of cool stuff there. And lastly, leave a comment and like the video with what you want to see next in this series. There's a lot more maneuvers to go, and I'm trying to hit as many as I can. So I'll see you guys next time. Enjoy.